beneath the diamonds and designer dresses, some Hollywood divas hide a dark secret. Struggles with addiction have brought even the most celebrated stars to their knees. Today, we will explore the stories of 10 Hollywood divas whose battles with drugs became as infamous as their careers. At number 1, we have Marilyn Monroe. We all know her as a Hollywood legend, famous for her beauty and captivating presence on screen. But behind the dazzling smile was a hidden struggle. You see, the pressure in Hollywood is no joke, and Marilyn was constantly in the spotlight, with everyone expecting perfection. To deal with the stress and anxiety, she started relying on prescription meds, sleeping pills, and stuff like that. Back then, doctors handed them out like candy to help celebrities handle their crazy schedules. But the more Marilyn relied on these pills, the worse it got. She'd need pills to wake up and get through filming, then even more pills to sleep it all off. This messed with her work big time. She'd be late to set, totally out of it sometimes because of the meds. Directors and co-stars got frustrated, and she almost lost out on big roles because of it. Her relationships suffered too. Marriages to Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller were rocky thanks to her emotional ups and downs caused by the meds. Imagine trying to deal with that as her partner. Financially, it wasn't pretty either. The meds drained her bank account, and as her reliability became a question mark, studios were less likely to cast her in major films. The ultimate tragedy? Marilyn Monroe's life ended way too soon at the age of 36 from an overdose on barbiturates. A sad end for a true Hollywood icon. At number 2, we have Judy Garland. The sparkly legend had a dark side, a struggle that started young and never really let go. Back in the day, the studio system was brutal. Judy was a teenager signed to MGM, and the pressure to stay thin and perform flawlessly was insane. To keep her going on those crazy schedules, the studio and doctors piled on the amphetamines, like uppers. Then, to help her crash at night, they gave her downers, barbiturates. This cycle of pep pills and sleeping pills messed her up big time. These drugs took a toll. They messed with her health, both physically and mentally, and things just got worse over time. Her addiction made her unreliable. She'd miss shoots, forget her lines. This got her fired from movies, which was a huge blow to her career and Hollywood reputation. Judy's addiction also wrecked her marriages, which ended in one divorce after another. Her personal life was as stormy as her professional life, a never-ending cycle feeding into itself. But here's the thing, Judy's talent was undeniable. She made comebacks, delivered performances that blew everyone away, reminding them of her incredible gift. Her concerts were amazing, so personal and raw, a true connection with the audience. Yet no matter how strong these comebacks seemed, her addiction always hid in the shadows, a dark cloud over her achievements. Now let's talk about Billie Holiday, the voice of an angel, but behind the scenes, she battled a brutal addiction that messed with her whole life. Billie started out young on the rough-and-tumble jazz circuit. The lifestyle was fast, often unhealthy, and drugs became her way of dealing. Her childhood, rough as it was, with poverty and abuse, didn't exactly help either. Smack became her drug of choice, and as her career boomed, so did her addiction. Her voice, once so powerful and smooth, started to show the strain. But it wasn't just her singing that suffered. Back then, the law was way harsher on drug users, and Billie wasn't spared. This dude named Harry Anslinger, the head honcho of the anti-drug squad, had it out for jazz musicians specifically, and Billie was a prime target. She got busted for drugs a bunch of times, even served a year in prison in 1947. That was a killer blow to her career. Even after getting out of jail, things were rough too. Her record made it hard to find work. One big thing was losing her cabaret card in New York City. That meant she couldn't sing in any club that served booze. Her relationships weren't much better. They were often messy, with everyone using drugs, and always ended in heartbreak. And guess how Billie dealt with that heartbreak? Yep, more drugs. All this drug use, legal troubles, and lost gigs meant her money went fast. Even though she made a lot during her career, by the time she died in 1959 at the age of 44, she was broke. The crazy part, she died in the hospital under arrest for drugs, with cops guarding her even on her deathbed. Talk about messed up. But the truth is, addiction can come in many forms. It's not just about illegal substances. Take Veronica Lake, for example. Remember her, the one with the legendary peekaboo hairstyle? Yeah, that Veronica Lake. Well, everyone remembers her for that. Her Hollywood fame was sadly overshadowed by a lot of personal demons. Veronica shot to stardom in movies like Sullivan's Travels and This Gun for Hire. But as her star rose, so did her troubles. She started leaning on alcohol to deal with stress and anxiety, and that crutch started messing with her career. Veronica, known for being a bit cool and even distant at times, became even more unpredictable. Clashes with co-stars and directors became a regular thing, and let's just say showing up on time wasn't exactly her strong suit. Her love life wasn't much smoother either. She went through multiple marriages and divorces, each one adding more emotional baggage. Even though she was a top earner at her peak, her spending habits didn't exactly adjust when the money dried up. Throw in some bad financial decisions and limited work opportunities, and things went downhill fast. By the 60s, Veronica had faced bankruptcy and other financial crises. Public appearances became a sad reflection of her struggles. Her health worsened and she lived in much simpler circumstances. She tried to make comebacks in movies and TV, but her health and personal issues just wouldn't let her recapture that old magic. Sadly, Veronica passed away in 1973 at the young age of 50 from hepatitis, a disease made worse by years of alcohol abuse. But what about being pushed to the very edge of sanity because of addiction? Enter Frances Farmer. This actress shot to fame after winning a trip to Russia and catching the eye of Paramount Pictures. But things got complicated fast. Frances had a strong personality, some might even say fiery. This, mixed with the crazy pressure of being a Hollywood star in that tightly controlled studio system, led to major clashes. While we don't hear as much about substance abuse as with other stars, Frances did enjoy a drink. Some say that's why she acted a little, well, wild. But the bigger struggle for Frances was her mental health. Her behavior became more and more unpredictable, putting a strain on her relationships with everyone. Family, friends, co-workers, the whole crew. Things really hit a peak in 1942 when she got busted for driving with her headlights on during a blackout. Crazy times, right? This led to a nasty fight with the police, which became the first of many run-ins with the law. The whole situation went out of control and Frances ended up being declared mentally unfit. Over the next few years, she was in and out of institutions, going through all sorts of treatments, some pretty brutal and invasive for the time. Let's just say these experiences left a deep scar. Sadly, Frances wasn't the only one who faced a relentless battle for survival in Hollywood. Some were even against the system itself, like Dorothy Dandridge. This talented and beautiful actress was a true pioneer for African Americans in Hollywood. But her success story has a dark side. Dorothy crushed barriers. In 1954, she became the first Black woman ever nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars for her role in Carmen Jones. Huge moment. But even with this success, racism in Hollywood was a constant battle. They just wouldn't give her the roles she deserved, which was super frustrating. So, with all this pressure on her shoulders, Dorothy started relying on prescription meds. Anxiety and sleep problems, classic celebrity struggles, right? But what started as a little help turned into a full-blown addiction. The more she leaned on these drugs, the harder it was to perform at her best. People couldn't trust her to be reliable anymore, and the good roles dried up. This just added to her stress, making her even more dependent on the drugs. Her first marriage to dancer Harold Nicholas fell apart due to career stress on both sides and his cheating. Her second marriage to Jack Dennison wasn't any better. Even though she made good money at her peak, people she trusted, like her financial advisors, took advantage of her. With her career on the decline, the debt piled up and she ended up bankrupt. The pressure, the drugs, the money problems, it all took a toll. Dorothy's mental health suffered and her life just kept spiraling. Tragically, in 1965, at the young age of 42, she died from an accidental drug overdose. The official cause? Mixing antidepressants with sleeping pills. A tragic end to a talented life, but not an uncommon story in the pressure cooker of Hollywood. Take another actress, Belinda Lee. This British actress was a total stunner, but her life story is heartbreaking. Belinda started young in the 1950s, starring in British films and turning heads everywhere. But behind the beauty, there was a lot of drama. Belinda's relationships were intense, messy, and all over the headlines. More than her actual acting career. Her marriage to photographer Cornell Lucas ended in divorce as her fame grew and the pressure became insane. After that, she jumped from one dramatic relationship to another, which didn't exactly help her emotional state. Back then, the film industry was a party scene with endless booze. Belinda struggled to handle the crazy expectations and stress. Her lifestyle mirrored her love life, unstable and sometimes self-destructive. This, of course, made her a troubled star in the tabloids, and her film career suffered. She got cast less and less, and the roles she did get weren't that great. It felt like she wasn't reaching her full potential. Then, in a horrible twist of fate, Belinda's life was cut tragically short. She died in a car accident in California in 1961 at the young age of 25, just way too soon. At number 8, we have Clara B, the original It Girl. This silent film star had a charisma that could melt hearts, but her life story is way more rags to riches and back again than you might think. Clara started at the bottom. Born into poverty, she won a magazine contest that rocketed her to Hollywood fame. She became the ultimate flapper girl of the roaring 20s, with a carefree spirit and a dazzling smile. But the pressure of sudden fame, man, it was intense. The media was all over her, and let's just say they weren't always kind. This constant scrutiny took a toll on Clara's mental health. Back then, Hollywood didn't exactly prioritize its stars' well-being. Clara struggled with insomnia, depression, and anxiety, which made it hard to keep working. The media didn't help. They made a big deal out of her personal life, blowing things way out of proportion. This negativity just made her mental health even worse. To cope with the immense pressure and her mental health problems, Clara B reportedly turned to drugs and alcohol. The fast-paced lifestyle of Hollywood in the 1920s and 1930s, where substance abuse was rampant, likely contributed to her struggles. By the early 1930s, it was all too much. Scandals, betrayals, her mental health, and addiction struggles all piled on. Clara had to walk away from acting way too early. Her last film was in 1933, and she spent most of her remaining years out of the spotlight. Tragically, Clara B passed away from a heart attack in 1965 at the age of 60, a sad end for a shining star who deserved a much brighter life. At number 9, we have Jan Eagles. This actress, born in 1890, took the 1920s by storm. She was known for her powerful, emotional performances on Broadway and in silent films. She totally rocked playing these complex, troubled characters. Ironically, that kinda mirrored her own life. As Jane's career boomed, she started leaning on alcohol and drugs more and more. It began as a way to deal with the pressure cooker of the entertainment industry. Everyone expected her to be amazing all the time, but this coping mechanism quickly spiraled. Her dependence messed with her ability to, well, do her job. She might be incredible on stage or screen, but you never knew if she'd show up. There were times during her signature role in the play Rain where she just missed performances. Sick, they said, but everyone knew it was probably the booze and drugs. Her relationships weren't exactly picture-perfect either. 2 marriages, 2 divorces. Her emotional struggles and substance abuse made it hard to keep things together. It wasn't exactly a recipe for lasting love. Sadly, her health suffered too. Her nervous system took a beating, and she wasn't the vibrant, radiant Jane Eagles anymore. By the age of 39 in 1929, Jane Eagles' life tragically ended. Officially, it was a combination of illnesses, but everyone knew the alcohol and smack played a big role. The entertainment world mourned her immense talent and the potential that was ripped away way too soon. But let's be real, Hollywood is a lot of stress. Long hours, demanding roles, constant spotlight. It can break even the strongest actors. And that brings us to the last number on the list. Rita Hayworth, drop-dead gorgeous, especially in Gilda. But her life behind the scenes wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, especially later on when alcohol became a real problem. See, Rita felt a lot of pressure in Hollywood. They pushed her into roles she didn't like, basically controlling her career. That kind of stress can mess with you. So Rita turned to alcohol to cope. It's a classic move. You think it will relax you, numb the pain, you know? But it's not exactly a healthy solution. Over time, Rita's drinking got worse. It affected her health and relationships. At first, everyone thought it was just age catching up, you know? But it turned out that there was a bigger issue. Rita was eventually diagnosed with Alzheimer's, which messes with your memory and makes you confused. And here's the kicker. Alzheimer's symptoms can sometimes look a lot like alcoholism. So this just made everyone confused about what was really going on with Rita. Now, it's important to remember that Rita's battle with alcohol wasn't just about her wanting to party. Alzheimer's likely played a big role in why she drank so much. She probably didn't even understand what was happening to her. Imagine how hard that must have been for her and everyone around her. They just didn't have the right information until it was too late. Such a sad story. So there you have it, folks. Hollywood's top 10 divas infamous for being drug addicts. Did we miss anyone? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, don't forget to smash that subscribe button for more awesome content.